Hi viewers, we are back with Sports Today, our weekly show. Sorry, I beg your pardon. This is on Olympics, right? And whenever I am here with you, it is of course fitness. And being a strength and conditioning coach, I'm privileged to share the screen space this show with Susan Jacob. Susan is one of the most well-known nutritionists in the field of sports. Welcome, Susan.
Thank you, Mr. Chinmoy.
Yes, Susan, today's the discussion is on, of course, Sindhu. Sindhu today lost to Tai Tzu Ying of China, but then remember, she has got one more chance to win a bronze medal when she will be playing China's He Bing Xiao. So it is not all lost for Sindhu. But whenever Sindhu, or for example, one more power pack lady from Assam, Lovlina Gorowain, comes into play, we hear a lot of regimented fitness training, right? For example, the first question I lob it to you is the fact that I was reading in certain articles where it says that Sindhu trains for 8 hours. Now, as a strength and conditioning coach, I really didn't believe it. Now, once we went through Boria, who is right there in Tokyo, and he's the person behind this Sports Today, the man behind Sports Today. He took an interview of Sindhu, right, in Inspiration India Today television, where Sindhu said that this is my working hours: 7 to 8:30 in the morning, that is 1.5 hours; 9:15 to 11, that is 1 hour 45 minutes; 3:45 to 6 p.m., that is 2 hours and 15 minutes. So if you the summation is 5 hours and 30 minutes, and of that, I know the strength and conditioning, you need to have some stretches, recovery, etc. Now, tell me, from the nutrition perspective, how wrong it is, or right maybe, that 8 hours of training, whereas 5.5 hours, I think it's good. What is your take? 8 hours.
When it comes to fitness and the hours of training, I think you're the best person to answer that in terms as a fitness coach and strength conditioning. But when it comes
Right.
to diet perspective, yes, when there is excessive or intense training, as we all know, intense training can lead to muscle loss. Okay, there's a
Right.
breakdown of muscles. But as
Right.
nutritionists, sometimes what happens is we need to see that, okay, is that amount of excess amount of training really required for that person? Because something that we lack in athletes is, like, be it PV Sindhu, be it any other athletes, excessive training for them affects their recovery. And recovery is the main thing that I think you would also agree with it, and I would also
Absolutely.
equally agree with it, because recovery is very important. Because, and if you're training for long hours and your diet is not proper accordingly, your sleep is not, because see, when somebody trains 8 hours, me as a nutritionist, I always tell my athletes, like, try to get that nap at least in the afternoon, or get that good 6 7 hours or even 8 hours of sleep, because for your intense training you need to recover. And sometimes these athletes don't even have that much time to sleep, because they are up in the morning at 4 or 6 or 5. I'm sure you, being a coach, you would also know that, where the workout starts early morning and there's lack of sleep, and that affects the recovery. So nutrition plays a very important role, and it's very important for us to also, strategically decide, how much of calories, carbs, proteins, fats should such an athlete have when they're training for so long. But I would put this question back to you, because even as a nutritionist, we've always been in a clash with a lot of coaches, a lot of athletes, and
Yes.
trainers, because we say that, why do you need so much of training? But yes, there are coaches, no, you need that 8 hours. But there are some people even train 9 hours a day, like, starting from even 10-year-old kid who's into badminton. I've known them that they train the entire day, and I'm like, what is this? Because their growth is affected, their overall performance also gets affected, which I'm sure you would agree to it. But I would like to know that, as a coach, what is your input on that?
Yes, see, it one complements another. You hit the nail on the head. The first thing is that it's called smart work rather than the hard work, because you
Correct.
talk about the criteria of slogging it out, and you bring in those I mean, who really weights, because they can have 24 hours. It's not donkey's work. It has to be smart work. Now, as you said, 8 hours, even if I take it, it's unscientific. The second thing is that 5.5 hours, Sindhu said, which is fact and which is scientific, because you have been to Gachibowli, I have been to Gachibowli in
Yes.
Kopis Academy. I have also spoken,
Right.
right? I've taken I mean, I'll come to this. But the fact of the matter is, you should train according to the demands of the sports. You shouldn't overtrain.
Right.
The moment you
Right. Right.
overtrain, the fact is, body's recovery gets absolutely haywire. And as the fact is, the lack of sleep, because the body recovers during the sleep cycle. And
Right. Right.
no matter how much nutrition you pump into it, you will not be able to maximize your potential in the training ground. So, why
Absolutely.
this question came in? I said because some of the articles are just, I mean, writing wrong stuff. Whereas Sindhu trains for 5.5 hours. Now, get into the other stuff. So, the takeaway, the bottom line I wanted to say is that it's not many hours of training. It is quality training that determines, and also these are the preparatory phase. 5.5 hours when you're preparing, when you are going to play a tournament. I mean, in between, they don't train that much. So one has to look
Correct.
at the
Correct.
entire picture. Now, the question
Yes.
for you
So
is
when,
that,
yeah.
yeah, tell me.
So
Yeah,
what I
go
was
on.
saying is, see, when person is training for so long, okay, be it 5 hours, see, 5.5 hours, as you said, yes, it's a good amount of training because they do a lot. It's quite intense, they kind of
Right,
burn so much, around close to even 3,000 calories or even more
right,
sometimes. So the intense, and what an athlete need to focus is, as not only the athlete but also the coaches also, which they need to understand is, see, when you have your athlete playing at such an intense level or training at an intense level for so many hours, they should also have the motivation to know that what exactly is the nutrition required for such long hours. And this starts right from the day of training, not just before tournaments. Because I'm sure for PV Sindhu, she eats rice and normal vegetables, not any fancy diet. It's again rice, carbs. Okay, but she, as she says, that she eats only vegetables and non-vegetarians and rice. That's it, nothing else. That is
yeah,
what she lives on.
yeah. I'm coming to that. But before that, some tricky stuff, right? Now, I tell
Yeah.
you, the fastest recorded object in art, in sports, I'm coming to it. I'm not saying what is that. Now,
Hmm.
cricket ball, fastest 161 kilometer per hour, that was bowled by Shoaib Akhtar. The football, the fastest the ball has traveled is 210 kilometers per hour. Golf ball travels the fastest 340 kilometers per hour. Okay, Milos Raonic, right, as a tennis player, is served at 263 kilometers per hour. Some of the data, but can you guess what is the fastest moving object in sport? Badminton shuttle.
Moving shuttle. Yeah, because that's the
Badminton shuttle. Right.
correct
Now, what I'm going to ask you, so that means it's a power sport also.
power. Right.
So, some emerging players who want to come up, who want to really follow the footsteps of Sindhu, because she has been the icon, okay, the brand ambassador for badminton. What do you suggest? What will be the structure?
First
Emerging
of
players,
all,
I'm talking about.
yes, when it comes to emerging players, first of all, it's very important that yes, you need to get your fitness right, because you have your rotations, all your angles of your hand movement, your power, because power
No,
is at the end, which
I'm talking about the diet plan. See, there are
yeah,
three badminton players who trains with me, bit confused.
okay,
What? Because it is not, the court size is 44 feet by 17 feet, okay, for singles. So it's not running helter skelter. There is cardio and also strength. So taken
right. So
together,
coming
what
to
should
it,
be
yeah.
your,
So
yeah,
yes, so coming to it, because see, why I mentioned the power is because diet is, irrespective of, your age, because it's very important, because you kind of adjust the diet based on the activity. Now, why did I say power? Because there are certain foods that help in enhancing your power, okay, enhancing your strength. So it's very important that a pre-training meal. Okay, a pre-training meal which comprises of again 50 to 60% of carbs, coming from your rice, your fruits, okay, your dry fruits. These are something that we focus on, because around 50 to 60% comes from the carbs, which is very important, because you need to bump them up with the required amount of calories, and
But can
depending
I
on
interrupt?
their training.
Can I interrupt, Susan?
Yes.
Now, I want to be specific. Now, this is the very general what you're saying, carve this. See, I'm playing a game of football. I need a different amount of calorie intake. I'm going preparing
Right.
for badminton. So, how you differentiate? Okay, how you differentiate in terms of total or in terms of like the division of carbs and all these things? Can you just enlighten on
See,
this?
as we even talked in the first show, the previous show also, that no one size fits all. So when it
No.
comes
That's
to
fine.
badminton, yes, when it comes to badminton, I would say that again here you are looking at the individual, because yes, your carbohydrates, proteins, and fats, it cannot be generalized to saying that footballers need this much, or badminton players need this much calories, because ideally it depends on how much that person is burning. So I can go up to 3000 to 4000 calorie diet for a person who is, especially like somebody like PV Sindhu, who trains for so long or plays at a very intense level. I will have to give her close to 3000 calorie diet, because that is needed. Okay, so there is no general plan as in that, okay, this is the strategy for badminton players, this is the strategy, because all you have to evolve around is what is your intake of food before. So I would, as a nutritionist, when somebody is going for pre-training, at least half an hour to 45 minutes before they go to play, I would love to give them a good, like a peanut butter sandwich, with a banana, because that is a excellent carbohydrate or a pre-training meal that I would give them, because that has fat, which will give them the energy also. Their fuel sources are all loaded up, and that is going to sustain them. So we really cannot say that, okay, this is the diet. Okay, have rice or a dal and one vegetable along with a non-veg, or you have a
Right.
protein shake before for a badminton player, and you have a peanut butter sandwich for footballers. That cannot be said. So it is never generalized, because that is something that we all need to understand, and viewers definitely need to understand. It's not a generalized plan, it is not a
Okay.
generalized diet, it is a customized plan based on the individual.
Okay, fine. Now, I have been to Gachibowli, right? A privilege to go there. I met Gopi Chand. I watched Sindhu train. Even Gopi invited me for a lunch, and I had a lunch with the nutritionist preparing absolutely, I mean, calibrated, I would say. How much carb, how much this, how much oil, the kind of stuff these emerging badminton players are taking. So I have a very close view of that. Here, I want to tell you that, for example, a person like Sindhu, or a person for a person who's because we are talking about Sindhu and relating to some emerging players. Now, pre practice loading, you have said. Now, ideally, because if you are going to train again in the afternoon session, how you're going to, I mean, because these people, as you said, these South Indians, they are more into the vegetarian stuff. Okay, so Sindhu, I hope, is a vegetarian. No, I don't have much idea on that. Is she a
She
vegetarian?
does. She does even take sometimes non-vegetarian as well. It's only sometimes, not always.
Okay,
Yeah, but
always.
she
So
focuses on,
how
yeah.
how again, not one size fits all, but how you should plan it. I mean, the lunch, so that can recharge themselves fresh, and what should be the meal at the night dinner.
Right. So that's a very good question, because see, what happens is, as you said, when they have different hours of training, there are intervals between the training. They take gaps, correct? They take
Correct.
breaks in between their training. So your meal is fully surrounded based on the kind of training, as I kept saying. Why?
Correct.
Because now, if somebody who's training from morning till evening, they are doing different kinds of training. They are not just keeping on playing in the shuttle court
No,
from morning
they're
till
strength
evening,
training.
correct?
Right.
Yes, they have strength, they have cardio, they have different kinds of training, they have mobility that they
Right.
are doing, there are a lot of things that they're doing. Now, Now, if you are someone who has the intense amount of training happening in the morning, so as I said, the pre-train it could be 6 in the morning or 7 in the morning. So we are giving, say, a good sandwich, a peanut butter sandwich with banana. I'm giving over there just for an example. If it is a South Indian, I might even go up to giving a lot of some idlis over there. So it depends. Or a North Indian, I would give something as a paratha over there also. So it depends on whichever food culture the person is, but that during training is also important, because even if they are training for that 1 hour, so say strength training they're doing, it's very important that I take care of their hydration. Okay, I give them something simple as nimbu pani, or even an electrolyte, because they need to replenish all their sweat that they're losing. They have to replenish their electrolytes, which is being lost through sweat. And post training also, I have to give them a protein and a carb source. It could be as simple as a protein shake I can give, or a natural fruit juice or a milkshake that I can give them. And if they have a training that's going to happen after lunch, I would ensure that they need to take their lunch, proper lunch, which comprises of the rice and chapatis and all the other thing, at least 1 hour to 1.5 or maximum 2 hours before also. Because what happens, you need to ensure that the food that the athlete takes, it kind of suits their gut. Otherwise you're going to throw up when you're going to do your excess training in the afternoon or after any meal. So there is a gap of the time interval that you need to plan is, say, 1 to 2 hours before, if you're having a heavy meal. During events are smaller meals that you take in form of your dry fruits, nuts, snacking bars. Because PV Sindhu is someone who takes some snack bars in between. If you have read about her, what she takes in between while she is in her competitions or training, snack bars, energy bars. You can make normal homemade bars also. And post training is immediately something called as the recovery meal that you need to take, which is again, say, 30 to 45 minutes within your training. Post your training, that you take a good recovery meal, which could be a nice soup or even a dal. Okay, along with again some fruits, some watermelon juice or a pineapple juice, because these are some which helps in recovery. Okay, because they all contain enzymes which helps in relaxing the muscles, so that helps in recovery. So it's very it's strategically planned how much in what quantity needs to be given. So pre, during and post meals are very important when it comes to an athlete's diet.
Okay, that's nicely explained, Susan. Now, you see, different cultures, different diet plan. Okay, the European culture is different. The Chinese take different sorts of food. The Japanese.
Right.
This is a question that triggered in me. Does this different kind of food intake also creates a, different level of energy from inside? Why I say, because beef, right?
Right.
I've seen people who takes beef in the European countries. First thing, their bone structure is different, their muscle groups are different. Now, this Indian culture of intake of food and the Western or other countries, the intake, does it make a difference in producing strength, in growth of muscle? What do you think?
I strongly believe the fact that the quality of food matters a lot. Okay. When we are at India, trust me, there's a lot of pesticides, lot of other synthetic things being added. The quality of food that we get in India, the quality of food that you get abroad is completely different. Like, I personally would love to eat an apple that I get in, say, in the Middle East rather than eating an apple in India, because I kind of don't find the taste. There's a huge taste difference. So when
Right,
it comes to Western culture, yes, their primary focus, their primary diet comprises a lot of meat, lean meats, because yes, lean meats are
right,
excellent sources for muscle synthesis. But at the same time, when we come to our Indian culture, not everybody is fond of having a lot of meats. Okay, so yes, there is a structural difference, there is an overall energy difference, but at the end of the day, if you're customizing yourself with a kind of diet right from childhood, at the end you'll get to see, you'll always get the benefit out of that. So there are different, because the quality of foods, the calorie, the way of cooking, all matters, because here we use so much of oil and everything in our diet. But when it
right.
comes to Western cultures, they're not using a lot of oils over there. The method of cooking is more like bakes and steaks and everything. So so that is like one thing. Because I'm sure you would want to, even if you travel to Europe, you would definitely, you will still look for most of Indian foods out there and not go for Western, because you cannot adjust to the taste. You want something
No.
that is, satisfactory. So yes, the
Right. Now,
quality of food matters, and
yeah.
the type of cooking. Yeah.
Okay. Now, coming to the next question, this Lovlina Gorovin, she is also making us really proud coming from Assam, a
Yes.
very, very obscure village, the struggle. Now, in boxing, there are 3 rounds, each having 3 minutes with a break,
Correct.
and it all
Correct.
finishes there. And
Yeah.
trust me, one punch is equal to that's the max somebody generates 770 pounds from a male. That's a max. So you can understand.
Right.
So this is a boom boom sport. It starts and finishes. See, what is the difference between Sindhu sports? It lasts between 45 and 50 minutes. So, apart from
Correct.
the power, there is endurance involved. You have to survive that period.
Exactly. Correct.
Whereas in Chanu, it finishes in fraction of a second. One leap, boom. Okay, gone.
Right.
Weightlifting. In come to boxing, 3 plus 3 plus in 9 minutes, little bit of endurance, mostly power endurance. Having the
Right.
power going continuously. So, Susan, whatever you say, I think that there has to be a different diet plan. I mean, the combination, the balancing or the
Exactly. There
percentage.
has to be, yes, there has to be a different diet plan, because when you take boxers, it is short duration. It's not a long
Right.
duration compared to badminton, or you take cricket. Okay. But when it
Right.
comes to
Right.
boxing, when it comes to weightlifting, you need a jhatka. You need
Jhatka.
something to take that will give you a jhatka to,
Sudden
lift that
boss.
weight or to punch. Yes. So that is very important. Now, if you see, whenever these say boxers, because I have worked with Sachin Sivach, okay,
Okay.
who is number one world champion in boxing. Now with him also, because again it's a weight category. But when they take that minute break, that 3 minutes, after that 3 minutes bout, when they're taking that small break, something
Break.
that we give them is simple carbs that will give them an instant bout of energy, to give that, sudden increase in their energy level. So that is very much. So there I would be focusing, because it's a short duration. My preparation before the sports is anyway there, but I will also focus on in between, giving them small bouts of energy in form of the simple carbs coming, some sports drink solution, okay, even as simple as Gatorade, or I would give even Nimbu Pani with honey over there, that will give that instant bouts. And I'll ask him to, because I have told him that, pop up some handful of raisins or dates or a laddu, even, laddu, when it comes like a dates and a dry fruit laddu, and I'm, trying to get some homemade stuff, okay, with the jaggery in it, because that's going to give you that instant bout and that power. So that is definitely there, because it's a short duration. It's not a long duration, it's a short duration, high intensity. So that is the
High
kind of
intensity.
diet.
Correct.
Yes, so
Correct.
that is the kind of diet that I would give for a boxer, because I've been giving that. Okay, because that matters. Because me, that break that that the athletes take in between is very, very important. And you
Very
see them
important.
sipping something. That sipping something is actually the load going into them. That, okay, come on, let's go and have this fight, because I need to put the next punch has to be more powerful to knock the other person down. So that's very
Right.
important.
Correct. The replenishing the energy. Perfect. Now, the final question, Susan, is completely different. Okay, Simone
Yes.
Biles, we saw the gymnast, just broke down out of stress. Sindhu have often said she has got 140 million weight on the shoulders, right? So the stress plays a major role in the performance sport, living up to the
Yes.
expectation. Here, because I also believe a lot of people say is that you do your yoga, you do your breathing, all this stuff. Sindhu in fact does yoga nidra. I was listening to Gopi Chand. He was saying that she does yoga nidra very, very religiously. Now, having said that, share this with the viewers that I feel there has to be certain food also that suits your mind, that calms you. Is there
Absolutely
anything?
correct. Definitely, why not? Because there are foods like, you take walnuts, you take chamomile tea, because they contain they give you the feel good hormones, okay, that makes you go into sleep. They induce sleep, they calm your mind, because there is something called cortisol that gets produced in the body, which is a stress hormone. So this stress hormone is a cause for a lot of injuries also internally. Okay, and the most important thing is, I think all the coaches, including you, should agree with me, is yes, give the athlete or the person good amount of sleep and rest period. Don't make them train for 6 days a week or 7 days a week without
No,
taking a break in between. Okay, so
absolutely.
that's so the foods, because yes, before you go to bed we give, chamomile tea. That's an excellent, stress relieving food. Walnut, banana. Okay, because they will contain magnesium and all, that's going to give you, more calm to your, and omega-3 fatty acids. I'm a great fan of omega-3 fatty acids, which comes from general foods. Okay, and people who can't take, I tell them, okay, go for a supplement in that case, if you can't take it via food, because they are very important. So stress is very, like, plays a very critical role over there. So it's very important that you should get your sleep. I tell even the coaches, I think I've told even you also, ample of time, the sleep is very important. So that sleep is something that we need to get, because that makes your day. If you get a
That
good
makes
sleep, I'm sure it makes your day, and I'm sure athletes out there can perform their best, if they get a sleep. So there are a lot of stress relieving foods. Take a lot of fruits and vegetables, take a lot of green leafy vegetables. You have your oranges, you have your papayas, take all of them. Watermelon, all of them help in relieving your muscles and calming, because that in turn is going to give you good amount of sleep. So yes, stress is very important, and yes, don't do intense training. So that's something that I want to tell all the
yeah.
coaches also out there, that it's high time that we really need to focus. Don't just keep focusing on the strength and everything. That's important, but at the same time, internally, if we need to feel better, do better, sleep is important.
Yeah,
And
the
food, yes.
calibrate your load. Virat Kohli says the load management, the fast bowlers, and one point Susan didn't touch for stress. There is a gut brain axis. She administers
Yes.
me also probiotic. So it skipped her mind. I'm just borrowing it from the expert. So you should also
So
take some probiotic. Can you just elaborate last point?
definitely, definitely. Because see, if you're not eating clean, clean eating is very important. If you don't eat clean, there are a lot of bad bacteria that are produced in your gut. Okay, so you need to definitely have something called probiotic, which will give you the good bacteria in your gut, because the brain and the gut are interrelated. If your gut is gone for a toss, that's it. You are not in your senses, you are not at your best level. So some of the probiotics that commonly that you get even in the pharmacy is something like a bifilac that you can take, which is over the counter that you can take. And something that I always love giving is the acidophilus, which is really good, because it's a 70 billion strain. So it's very really good containing a probiotic. So I think
And what are
all of you,
natural
if you
stuff?
have curd,
Natural
see,
stuff.
if you have to, curd is a natural stuff, and I tell people to take buttermilk, because that helps you in cooling your gut and in your relieving your gut. There is something like, even you can take something like jeera also, even a jeera water or ajwain water, that will also help in relieving your gut, which in turn will help in better brain and gut health development. Okay, but if you have to take curd, remember you need to have 4 kgs of curd in a day to get the good bacteria in. So while I am sure nobody can go up to having 4 kgs of curd in a day, so go for a probiotic that's safe to use. It's not a banned substance. It's all good to be taken, because I'm sure Mr. Chinmay would agree with it, because that's why he brought in this point. It's very important. So though he's an anti supplement person, but still I think he would agree with this fact.
No, 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 Susan, you're right. What is required for the body, we got to give it. So then, it's a
Yes.
very nice show, Susan. We end in a happy note that maybe today Sindhu has lost, but there is a bronze medal in the waiting, which we all hope, pray for her that she will bring, and also Lovlina Gauruvin. Okay, so
Yes.
that's it from us in sports today. Every week Saturday Susan is going to enlighten us with a lot of things. She has worked with so many leading sports persons of India. She's going to share with us. Susan, thank you so much. Keep watching sports today, and of course do subscribe. See you, good night, and always pray for India's success in the Olympics.